Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I will be teaching you one specific opening line, and this is just an example of the work that I'm doing with a couple of students of mine. So as I'm basically extremely experienced in the Carokann, I'm basically teaching this opening to every single student that has less than 2000 ELO with me. So white played the Exchange Carokann, which is basically my main weapon with the white pieces against the Carokann. And okay, I play what black has to play against the bishop d3 line, which is knight to f6. And the idea is very simple. I want to go bishop to g4. But white played bishop to f4. Usually the best move here is h3. And if you're in the Discord, you already know how to play against h3. Basically, there are a lot of lines with knight c6, c3, and e5. And also, go check the other upload on my channel, especially the older one where I'm basically analyzing this line already. You will learn a lot of things here. Anyway, bishop f4. I didn't play bishop to g4, even though I should have, just a brain mistake. But here he can just play f3, and okay, this is a hard position, but it should be fine. But I played knight c6 just to fall back into the main line. Usually white plays something like c3, knight c6, or okay, bishop g4, queen b3, queen d7, defending on b7. White goes bishop to f4, which is threatening if I do nothing to capture. I capture back and bishop to b5 and I lose the queen. So I have to go knight c6 and now there are no more threats along the b5 square. Knight f3 here would be a mistake because I can simply capture and now the pawn structure is absolutely terrible. So white goes then knight bd2 first, then I go e6, then knight f3, then I have to take. Why? Because black has a nice grip over the e5 square, so I just want to fight against it by getting rid of one of the pieces that is controlling the e5 square. Why isn't it a problem to give away the bishop pair in this position? Because after knight takes, I can just play bishop to d6. And if you capture, I capture back. And now you have, sure, a bishop against a knight, but I have every single pawn on the light squares, so it's not that kind of an issue. Especially that you're never going to attack me, especially if I keep all my pawns like that. And if needed, then I play g6. But there is a question which you're certainly asking yourself, and that is, why not queen takes b7? The reason is very simple. I can just play rook b8. You have to move the queen away, then I castle. Why is it good? Because I'm attacking the pawn, so you have to defend the pawn with, for example, b3 or b4 or whatever. Let's just say b3. And here, I can just play rook to b6. The queen has to move, and e5, and the king is dead in the center. I'm playing e5, captures, and the problem is that the king is just extremely weak. You can't castle because I just capture. If you go bishop to e2, then I can still just capture, bishop takes, and check, and the king simply can't castle. And no, the queen can't capture the rook. This is just one of the example setups and lines that basically happen extremely often in the Carokann. Let's go back to the game, because he played bishop f4 first. What is the difference? I went knight c6, he went c3, and I just go for the same line, bishop g4. Here he should have gone queen b3, then queen d7, and we just fall back into the same line. Then he went knight to f3. Now I just went queen to d7, which is extremely normal, but I should have played e6, but this is just a small detail. Queen to b3, and now what's the difference? The knight is on f3, and the knight is in on d2. So now I can basically capture, go e6, and fall back into the lines that we have. It's just that it's a better version for me since the pawn structure is absolutely destroyed. And I do not care about the bishop pair since I'm going to trade one of the bishops off. And if your opponent has, for example, two bishops, it's much better for you, especially if you are afraid of them, to basically trade one of the bishops off the board. Knight bd2, bishop f4, bishop d6, I'm attacking the bishop on f4, captures, and now he made a mistake. He captured on b7. So guess what? I just played castles. I could have gone rook b8, and then after queen a6 eventually capture, but I was a little bit, I will use a strong word, but I was a little bit ashamed of accepting this against this kind of player. So I went castles, which is threatening rook b8. He went knight b3, defending against rook b8, but now I just played e5. And guess what? The center is just going to open up. Even if you castle now, then at the very least, I just capture, worst pawn structure ever, and rook b8 on the top of everything. So, just to keep it simple, he went queen a6, and now I just captured on d4, and the thing is, if you capture back with the pawn, then the king is just extremely weak. I will just start an attack the same way I attacked in this game. Anyway, he went knight takes d4, and of course I can't capture, I'm just losing to the queen, so I went queen e7 first. Here he had to go king f1 to hold on a little bit, but if he goes king f1, I can just capture, and go knight h5, followed by knight f4, queen h4, and the king is just extremely weak. So instead he went king d2, but now I simply captured, went queen b4, I'm threatening everything. If he goes that way, then at the very least I just go for check and queen d4, and I'm getting the pawn back, and the king is extremely unsafe, but he went king e2. So now it's just a pure massacre, and I could have played knight h5, but I just thought, okay, let's just bring some pieces into the game. So I played rook to e6, which is attacking the queen. I was expecting the queen to move away, after which I would have played queen h5, I'm sorry, knight h5, and eventually keep attacking the knight. But he went rook to d1, which is a tactic. If I captured, then he wanted to basically capture and win the queen, but I will still be up a piece. But I didn't let him do that. I just played queen e5, and I just won everything. And now, of course, the win was extremely simple. I just didn't blunder checkmate, and of course, here he resigned. It was just a very small example of what happens in the Exchange Carokann is black. I give you all the main plans. Of course, if white is going for something else, then you will have to analyze and dose your knowledge. Anyway, if you don't have any more questions, I think we have it for today. See you in the future. Take care.